una calle de Los Ángeles. ¡Woo! I was born in Mexico, but I was raised in Los Angeles, California. When I was a very small child, I was introduced to music, musicians that used to come over and play for family functions. And that's, I think, this is my earliest memories of being present in a room with musicians. And I don't know, there was something about the guitar that I took to that I loved the instrument. And then when I came to the United States in the early 60s, I was really I got introduced to rock and roll music. And that's what did it, rock and roll music. So, everything that was good, man. Everything from rock and roll to rhythm and blues and surf music and all of that stuff that was going on, especially here in California and Los Angeles. The Beach Boys and all that stuff, Roy Orbison and this guy named Elvis Presley. I used to go watch his movies at the theaters. And I was like, man, who is this cat, man? Who's this guy, And he'd come out, dancing and singing and gyrating, and his hips and, these fantastic musicians, this wild rock and roll music and stuff that, And then later on, of course, the Beatles that came to America and the Rolling Stones. So I was a kid in the 60s, growing up with all of that stuff. Everything that was happening, the Ed Sullivan Show and everything, That's what got me, was that, all of that. Well, when the early 70s rolled around, I was already a musician, and I was playing in my R&B band, and was doing a lot of funk music, and of course some rock and roll and stuff. And right around that time was the time that I started a band called Los Lobos, and the reason for that was really we dedicated all our talents sort of to the notion of playing folk music again. That was Mexican folk music, and we started learning and experimenting with music that comes from all the different regions in Mexico. And the old stuff, the very old folk music that's maybe 100 years old or something. And that's the music that comes from Veracruz, and the Guajarocho music and Huapangos and música ranchera and all of that stuff, and mainly music from Veracruz. That was something that hit me right in my heart, man. It's music that if you start learning that, if you start getting into that music, that's pretty difficult music, the way it's played and the technique of the strums was rather challenging for us. So there we were, young Chicano guys from East LA, kind of rediscovering our roots and playing Mexican folk music. And that's kind of where it started for us. Well, I stopped at this guitar shop and was looking for a flamenco style guitar. I picked up this one guitar and picked it up, strummed it, and it sounded great. And I noticed, I looked in the sound hole and it said Alhambra. And I went, wow, this is a great guitar. So that's kind of where it started for me. And then also later on in one of my tours, I didn't pick up that guitar, by the way, that day, because I was in a hurry. But not long thereafter, we were on a tour in Spain, and I was in Barcelona. And I literally had like about half an hour before we had to go back to the hotel and catch our flight back to the United States. So I went into a guitar shop in Barcelona, and I picked up this guitar, an Alhambra, and I loved it ever since. I brought it home and been playing it, and that's really one of my primary guitars. I don't use it too much on tour, but I use it more. It's more like my home studio guitar that I use that to record like more serious tracks and stuff like that. Well, the characteristics I like about Alhambra is obviously that they're made very well. They're fine-made instruments and beautiful instruments. And of course, they make all these different models, but I love the flamenco guitars. And they're very traditional, and they're fine instruments, and they sound beautiful. You know, I picked this particular Alhambra. It's a 7 series, but I picked this one particularly. I was saying for my tours, and I love this particular model because it's a slim. It's slim from here, and it's very comfortable to play. And of course, this is designed more with the live performance in mind, and it's designed. It has a nice pickup, which you can plug into a big PA, and it just sounds amazing. And it also has this nice cutaway. So if you're playing, you know, way up here, you could get up and do all the very high notes, you know, for those rock and roll crowds. No, but it's a very nice instrument, and it just seems to work very well for a touring musician and for stage. You know, it just seems to work for me, and I like it too because it's still very acoustic, and it's designed in a very traditional form. And what else can I say? They're amazing instruments.